Carrie here. I'm at the Kickstart Your Business Summit. And you know what? We're like on the last speaker. Oh my goodness. It's been such an amazing event. So many speakers. If you missed them, go back in the playlist and watch them. Subscribe and look up the Kickstart Your Business Summit. Subscribe and do that. And you can just keep watching them and watching them. We have so much incredible information. You'll also notice at the top of the screen there is a QR code. You can go register and get the gifts from all the people that have been at the summit. All the speakers have given gifts. And then there's even a higher level of VIP gifts. Some of those gifts are worth hundreds, some even thousands of dollars. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. You can get them all for like 97 bucks. So that's what you need to do. Right now, our next speaker, we have saved the best for last. Oh my goodness. If you are growing a business, if you have, an idea of an empire, you're trying to build and protect, you're going to want to pay attention to what we have coming up next. I have one of the best financial experts in North America is with me here today. He is amazing. We've known him for years, and I can personally vouch for him. Guys, grab your pen, grab your paper, get your phone out for screenshots. You're not going to want to miss this. You got 10 seconds to get ready. We'll be back right after the music. Awesome. So I'm back with one of my favorite members of CIBN, longtime member, and now a sponsor of CIBN. We've known each other for years, met in person. He's even come up to spend time with us in Banff. So fabulous having had you here with us, Cliff. Let me just tell everybody who you are. Cliff specializes in providing advanced tools that help people to make more with what they have and keep what they have. And mostly in the United States, and he enjoys providing these proprietary strategies to high income and high net worth families. And if you ever want to be one of those high income families, you should probably talk to him about how to protect that so that other people can't take it from you, through being sued or through taxation or whatever. You definitely want to talk to Cliff. He's our number one guy for this. Thanks for being here with us today, Cliff. I just want to get everybody to give you a big round of applause.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I appreciate that.
Awesome. So what do you have for us today?
Well, today we're actually going to talk about strategic wealth preservation. And, Nelson Rockefeller, he was the grandson of the oil magnate John D. Rockefeller. He said it best. He said the secret to success is to own nothing, but control everything. When he said this, he said it many decades ago, people really didn't understand what he was saying. Today, we're going to demystify some of that for you. Now, what you're going to learn today is why we use specialized trust structures. So people are very familiar with structures that are out there today, like LLCs and S Corps. Well, there's other structures that are out there that you can actually work in and through, and we utilize very specialized trust structures to do that. We're going to talk about who qualifies for this type of trust and what are the tax benefits of this trust. So a little history on trusts. Now, trusts were originally invented for medieval knights who needed someone to manage their land for their family while they were away at war. Now, a special court based on fairness decided that the caretaker, the trustee, had to use land to help the family. And the family in this case would be the beneficiary. Now, today we use the same legal tool to have one person manage money or property for the benefit of another. Now, the substance and form of the original Master Spendthrift Trust, which is what we started with many years ago, and the current Benson Financial Trust were first constructed in the early 1950s. The original series of Master Trusts were created by Robert N. Benson, Esquire, who was a Harvard-educated attorney and a protege of Professor Austin Scott, who taught at Harvard Law School. Now, Professor Scott is the renowned author of Scott on Trust Law, which is recognized as a leading authority on trust law in the United States. Now, Mr. Benson studied and taught classes under the guidance of Professor Scott. And after graduating from Harvard, Mr. Benson became a partner in a prominent Wall Street law firm, providing his legal acumen to high net worth individuals to plan and protect their estates through various spendthrift trusts, which were the predecessors to the subsequently copyrighted Master Trust, copyrighted under the authority and approval of Mr. Benson. And in 1870, this is going back a little bit before our trust was really around. In 1870, the Standard Oil Company was founded in Ohio by John D. Rockefeller. His business quickly grew and he needed to expand his business to other states. Back then, corporations were very restricted. They were largely confined by the state borders, and the Rockefellers wanted to create a seamless nationwide oil company. So, in order to do that and realize his goal, he and a group of 41 investors consolidated all of their sprawling empire, 40 different companies, into a single holding agency managed by 9 trustees. And the Standard Oil Trust was born in 1882. This was a brilliant legal workaround. And in 1916, changes in the taxes occurred again. The federal estate tax was established, and there was also an increase in tax rates. John D. Rockefeller really didn't want to have to deal with this. So he knew he had to find a way to legally avoid these taxes, not evade. There's a difference. Avoid these taxes. And in 1934, he placed the majority of his fortune in a series of irrevocable trusts. Now, these weren't just any irrevocable trusts. These were trusts that were specifically designed to defer taxes, very much the way our trust is designed to operate today. Now, these trusts were primarily funded with shares of his various companies that were once part of the Standard Oil empire. And by doing this, he effectively removed them from his personal estate. And that shields them also from hefty estate taxes. Now, that's a very important distinction because in estate planning today, a very large issue a lot of people face is, how do I get this out of my name but not lose control of it? And there's very few methods of doing that, and most really aren't aware of them. Now, in addition to that, Rockefeller wanted to ensure his family fortune would never be depleted. He did this by utilizing a permanent life insurance held in the trust. This initially was called the Rockefeller Cascade and is now known as the Rockefeller Waterfall Trust, and more accurately, a wealth management strategy known as Rockefeller Method or Waterfall Concept. Now, this is a very sophisticated system designed to preserve and grow families' wealth across multiple generations. Each new addition to the family had a permanent life insurance policy held in their trusts. When a family member passed away, the death benefit from their life insurance policy was paid to their trust, replenishing and increasing its assets. This concept is still used today by those who understand the power of it. So just think about it. Let's pause for a second and just think about that concept. So if every single person born into the family, you provide a permanent life insurance policy for them, it's built into a structure that preserves and grows that wealth, not just for a handful of individuals, but for the entire family. In just a few generations, you've created an empire. And as long as you continue to have kids and continue to follow the same program, you've got a dynasty. Now, a key feature of this strategy is to use the tools and the cash value accumulation within the permanent life insurance policies. This growing cash value can be accessed by the family through loans from the trust, effectively creating a family bank. This allows family members to fund business ventures, educational expenses, or other significant life events without relying on traditional financial institutions. This is very, very powerful. Now, the interest paid on these loans further contributes to the growth of the trust assets. Today, their net worth is around $11 billion. Now, when we want to insure someone in our family, let's say we have older children, they're in their late 20s or early 30s. It's very difficult sometimes to establish insurable interest. Okay. So one of the ways that we do that with this structure is by having them part of the structure, maybe a beneficiary or a co-trustee, we can easily establish insurable interest. And the trust explicitly outlines the beneficiary or co-trustee's financial state. Now, this moves the relationship beyond the mere sentiment and establishes quantifiable expectation of future financial benefit. There will be loss if anything ever happens to them. And the legal structure of the trust provides a formal framework that an insurance company can review to assess the legitimacy of the insurable interest claim. And the focus for establishing insurable interest shifts to the potential financial detriment the trust would face if the insured were to die, thereby disrupting the flow of the benefits of the trust. Now, who qualifies for this type of structure? And it's not for everyone, and that's okay. If you're a W-2 income earner and that really is a source of your income, this probably is not going to work for you unless you're earning about $600,000 or more per year as a W-2 employee. It's very uncommon. So typically what we're looking for is someone that pays $50,000 per year or more in taxes, someone who's expecting a capital gains event of more than $300,000, or someone who has an estate valued over $15 million per person. Okay. So any of these three categories definitely qualifies. Someone who might kind of be on the border. If you're in a high risk profession, like let's say you're in the medical industry, which is very litigious, and most medical practitioners, when they're sued, they're typically sued a second time before they retire. So the likelihood of them being sued multiple times drastically goes up after the first lawsuit. So if you're someone like that, this is definitely something that can protect you, your assets, everything you've worked so hard for in your life, not only to protect you, but to protect your family and everything that touches your family. Now, the tax benefits of this structure provides a means to legally avoid taxes. And I said this before, it's a very big difference between evasion and avoidance. Tax avoidance is legal, okay? And as long as you're following the Internal Revenue Code, Treasury regulation, case law, tax avoidance is 100% legal. It's when we try and evade taxes. If we're lying about what we're doing or failing to file the taxes, that actually crosses the line. That's called evasion. We really frown on that. We do not encourage it. There are legal ways to do what we do, and we have found those legal ways to do it. And we follow the Internal Revenue Code, we follow Treasury regulation, and we have case law to back up what we do. Okay. So that's very, very important. Now, just to recap on what we covered today, why use this specialized trust structure? Okay. So the specialized trust structure is going to provide superior asset protection and superior tax benefits. Most of our clients are able to experience an additional 35 to 75% savings in addition to the best savings that they have from their current team today. It's very simple to work with. We don't have a very complicated set of LLCs or a complicated set of, family revocable trusts that we use. It's just a couple of structures and that's it. It's a very simple structure to work with. We talked about who qualifies for this trust. We talked about the tax benefits of this trust. And with that, I just want to thank you for your time and your attention for taking time with me today to go through this. And if there are any questions, I'd love to take some questions.
Awesome. Okay. So we're able to answer a few questions that come up about this. And I know one of the ones that I've often encountered when I'm referring you to someone, sometimes they'll say, well, I'm not from the US, I'm from Canada, I'm from the UK or whatever, but I'm thinking of launching my business in the US. I'm thinking of actually going there and setting up a business and, moving staff there and building out from the US. What advice would you give to me if I were considering coming to do that? Like, should I do this first or should I do this later? Like, how would I do this? I want to protect what I'm building, right?
100%. And, that's a really good question. So typically what we do is if you're from out of the country, we have to actually establish you in the United States. In order to do that, you do have to have some type of physical address in our country. It doesn't have to be a brick and mortar business per se, but you do have to have a place where it's established that you are here. And once you've done that, we have a process of helping you obtain an I-10. And with that I-10, you're able to establish these structures, and then you can run your business in and through these structures.
Awesome. So one of the other questions that I have heard is, people say, well, I already have a trust. I'm already signed up for a trust. Our family has one. But then sometimes I hear people say things like they're afraid of being sued. Okay. So is that the same as the trust that you're offering, or is this something different?
They're usually quite different. So the majority of the trusts that are out there are going to be just standard revocable living trusts. And when it's a revocable trust, there is no asset protection. So if someone sues you as an individual, a judge can order that you actually revoke an asset out of the trust, in essence, turning over that asset or assets held in the trust. So there's really zero protection. And from a a tax standpoint, when someone typically has a trust, um, they're doing it just for basic estate planning. There's so much more that a trust can do beyond just standard estate planning. So when they have a family revocable trust, they typically will put their home inside of it. That way, when they pass away, their children or their beneficiaries can legally avoid probate. There's no tax benefits in that. When they file their taxes, it's done on the 1040. So that revocable living trust is like an extension of themselves. It's not really a separate entity. The trust structures that we create are designed to be an entirely separate entity. And by having it designed that way, there's no alter ego status. And we also have a very specific way of designing the trust so that you don't lose control over the assets held in the trust, but you also don't own those assets in any way. So it's a very different type of structure.
Interesting. So how much money should I be making before I'm like wanting to talk to you about this? Because I know you would like to work with high net worth clients, but if I say I had a house that's $500,000 house and I own a business and I've got, a couple of employees and my husband also works and he makes $100,000 a year. I mean, is that enough for me to be considering this as a strategy? Like, should I be thinking about that?
Sure. Now, it does depend on how you're structured. So if you're structured in S corps, which is a common structure for businesses in the United States, can't really do anything with the W-2 income portion, but the other aspects of the income that comes in through the business, we can certainly make a significant impact with and drastically reduce what someone pays in taxes while providing them superior asset protection.
Wonderful.
So I would say a household of about $300,000 a year in income is a good starting spot. It doesn't mean you have to have that, but that usually works pretty well. Ideally, if you're paying at least $50,000 a year in taxes, that really is what we're looking for, because we're going to help you actually recapture that very, very quickly in the first year.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to make the money, but then you have to keep the money. And there's so many, there's so many ways you can make money, but it's going out as fast as it's coming in, especially if the government's standing there going, give me my piece now, right?
That's a great point, Carrie. When you actually have money held in your hand and you can actually utilize the full amount for an extended period of time before taxes are due on that, it makes such a difference in how quickly you can grow your empire. If you're constantly having to take money off the top to set it aside for the government, that's your partner. If you have an LLC or an S corp, your partner, whether you know it or not, is Uncle Sam, and they're there standing right beside you the whole way with their hand out saying, "Where's mine?"
Yeah, I totally agree. I have recently had some clients of ours, members, who have moved to other countries like Belize and places like this because they're trying to hang on to what they have and pay a lower amount of tax versus the high amount of tax, in our country. And, Canada and the US have pretty significant tax, levels. So this is a method of staying right at home.
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
in my mind, we have, one of the best places in the world that you can live. And if it's possible to live in one of the best places in the world and have the advantages that allow you to utilize more of the funds and control more of what you have, there's not really a reason to move out of the country unless you just really want to move out of the country. And
Yeah.
like what you just said, people moving to Belize. I've known many people to move to Puerto Rico to save on their taxes. And Puerto Rico is a beautiful place most of the time until the hurricanes come through.
Yeah, and and then you can suddenly lose it all. And not only the hurricanes that come through, I mean, it's the standard of living can be less. The danger of for yourself on a day-to-day basis can be increased,
Mhm.
depending on what's going on with crime in that country, or also stability of the government, and all those things are all factors. And I was just thinking, it probably costs you more to pick up your roots and go and sell everything and then go over there, and get set up. It probably costs more to do that than it does to actually just work with you and get things set up properly right where you are and create a legacy for your family for the entirety of your history forever.
Absolutely. And many states within our country today are moving more to establishing trusts that operate for 1,000 years. So South Dakota already has that in place. Florida just did it a couple of years ago. So Florida now allows trusts that are established, I believe it was after July 1st of 2022, trust now lasts, instead of 360 years or 300 years, it's now 1,000 years. And several other states have gone to extended periods of time for their trust as well. And this is really designed to build an ongoing legacy for people. And by states moving to this type of model, it also encourages people of high net worth or means to actually migrate and live in those states.
Wow. That's phenomenal. 1,000 years.
It's hard to fathom.
It's amazing. And I think it's a way of looking at the future in a whole new way, and, really planning for tomorrow, the future for your kids, your grandchildren, your grandchildren's grandchildren. I mean, you're going to be remembered if you put something together that's going to last like that. That's incredible. So anyway, we're so super happy that you were here with us today. Guys, I want to point out to you again, the QR code to register for the summit to get the free gifts is at the top. Make sure you go find that, click through, register. And then there's also VIP gifts that are there that many of the speakers have put out today and every day since we've been running the summit. And that's how you access them, is by following that QR code. We'll try to keep that up for you for a while after the summit as well, so that you can still get in on that. I want to thank Cliff for joining with me today and being my final speaker of the 2026 Kickstart Your Business Summit. Yay! Thank you so much.
Very much for having me here. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.